All right, we are back. It's Re.take. The ladies are here. The men have come in back from mandate. We hope you're enjoying yourself this Relationship Wednesday. I'm your host, Pastor Atemo. We're talking about infidelity today, so we want to hear your thoughts on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, even on email. We want to hear your thoughts. Remember, the hashtag is KTN Life and Style. Is infidelity avoidable in relationships and in marriage? Is that possible? What are the factors that lead to infidelity, and what can be done once that has happened? Joining us are the ladies, and I'm going to begin from my father's left to introduce themselves to this show today.
My name is Carol, founder and producer, Legacy One Productions.
All right, welcome to the show.
My name is Viti. I'm the director, Legacy One Productions, and I'm a mother and a wife.
Great, great.
My name is Rita. I'm born again. I'm a jazz singer with my band, a recording gospel artist, motivational speaker, and life coach.
I'm going to back you up one of these days. And then, of course, we've got the gentlemen who are with us.
Okay, my name is Ben Okeo. I'm married to Clarice, and I'm glad to be here.
All right.
I'm Paul Jiroge, Reverend Paul. I'm so married to Pauline. Glad to be here.
All right.
Yes.
Great.
I'm Richard, married to one wife, Lydia Waithera, and we have two sons, Gavi and Davin.
All right. Ladies, we were talking with a gentleman on the other side and talking about matters, infidelity. And Ben said that the men need to know and accept the fact that it is a possibility. Is that the same for ladies?
Yes, it is. Infidelity in marriage is a very high possibility. No one is really covered as such. It happens to the best of us, but there are measures that can be taken so that to avoid infidelity.
All right. What are those measures?
Well, for one, in any relationship, I guess we're really concentrating on marriage, there has to be transparency. Because with transparency will come trust. With trust comes loyalty. So all these are like the characteristics or the things we need to ensure that we have an affair-proof marriage.
All right. There's always this notion, and I'll still pick up on what Ben was saying on the other side. He talked about 3 issues that would lead people there. He talked about unmet needs. There is always this notion that when a wife is expectant, the chances of the man going out are very high. Is that a myth? Is that a truth?
I think when there's no mentorship on both the wife or the husband, then there is a possibility of the man going out because the woman does not understand what's happening. She does not understand how to cope with it. And the man also does not understand this new position he's put into and feels neglected and maybe sometimes weird and wants the attention. And, you know, hormones rule the world. Right. So if there's no mentorship to understand, these are the kind of scenarios, because one pregnancy is not the same to the next woman. Right. So I believe mentorship in all sorts of possibilities for both the wife and the husband are really, really necessary.
Are there those times? Okay, you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to agree with what you're saying, but also I think there's a gentleman who said, he talked about backgrounds. And I must say that sometimes the cultural backgrounds that we are brought up also contribute a lot, because the gentleman is... Oh. Yeah, because the men are not exactly told what to do, what to expect, what the behaviors will be like. The woman as well is not told what to do, and mostly, sometimes even they're told what not to do, but it's really not realistic in real sense, and actually in today's world.
And I wanted to ask that. Do you think that men go into a relationship with expectations that are unrealistic when it comes to their needs being met?
It's true. I would agree. Men go into relationship with exaggerated expectations.
Right.
And as long as you go into covenant relationship with such false optimism, you're bound to be very frustrated. Marriage, I think, in my conviction, is that you enter it not on the pretext to receive, but to give. Okay. Because if you enter it with the pretext that I'm to receive from her, you're bound to be very disappointed, like Rita has mentioned. When a woman is pregnant, this man expects this same wonderful lady to be all this lovely, wonderful girl who came from honeymoon, meeting every night. Right. You want her to cook, she's heavy with chai. You want her to wash, she's heavy with chai. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
So when you come with such exaggerated expectations where you want to receive, you're going to be very frustrated.
Is frustration a factor? Does it play a role in opening the door for infidelity on either side?
Yeah, because one, if you came with your expectation, I pick it from where they've just left it, and suddenly the girl you expected her to be is not the person, because somebody said that for a gentleman, you don't know you're married until you're 10 years old in marriage. The lady comes in, she's watched movies, read books, but a man is a man. She's prepared, but a man is not. Then he comes with this expectation, and then suddenly there's a kid, another child, probably even a sickness comes in, there's an ailment, and you have to deal with this person medically, and you're not stable financially. There's a loss of a job. There's a death of a relationship or a close relative. All these things contribute to the person in the house.
All right.
And in a way, they shape you. So when you don't have a place of letting out, if you and your spouse have not created that moment where you can communicate, heal each other emotionally, have that point where you correct each other with love, then frustration will lead you to seek help from another person.
You know, and Ben also, because I remember everything, he talked about emotional immaturity, but don't you think that sometimes it is people feeling deprived emotionally, and does that affect ladies also?
I have a different perspective, if I may share that.
All
I
right.
think sometimes when two people come together, if both individuals are damaged, they cannot have a whole relationship. There's no way that marriage is going to survive. So even before you enter the marriage covenant, I think the individuals need to learn to deal with themselves. Because I believe, and having been married like 18 years, but now divorced, you have to take personal responsibility. Falling into infidelity, into affairs is really a choice. No matter what anybody says, I was frustrated, this and this happened, and so you have all these reasons that led you to fall into that temptation. It is a personal responsibility at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I need to, or you want to say something?
Yeah, I think earlier on we spoke about internal reasons why people enter into affairs, people have affairs. There are also external reasons. Because I think, number one, it's important to know the prime times when you're most likely to have affairs. Like probably when your wife is pregnant or when you have a new baby. So as a man, you'll be kept in the cold for 6 months. Sometimes it's frustrating.
And just to add on that, I'm in agreement. It still boils down to mentorship. I will really insist on that. And frustrations happen, or rather, false ideologies about marriage also happen with the women, because we have this Cinderella kind of setting of, and the soap operas have lied to us badly. So you're coming into marriage, and most of us grow up knowing that, dreaming about our weddings, but we don't see about the marriage. So you have this dress and this bouquet and your flower girls, but you don't, reality hits you so hard, like, whoa, okay, this is you, this is me, then what? So it also goes with the women who are not mentored, not knowing what marriage is all about. Because we grew up dreaming about Prince Charming and grew up dreaming about the wedding, but not the marriage.
But I need to ask this. Do you think, even though Carol is saying it's a choice, and of course, everything that happens around us is a choice, there's always going to be opportunity. Do you think that men take up that choice more when they begin to go higher? Ben is laughing. When they begin to go higher, either financially or career-wise, then they begin to take that choice more. Do you think that success is a possibility for men?
It is a great possibility, because if I'm sorry, I'll give you let me just finish. I really believe that, because sometimes when you get married, in most relationships, you're starting off together. So you're almost on the same level. So you're there, you're caring, you're loving, you're considerate, and you're all doing everything possible to ensure that you do make it and this marriage does survive. But then as the man, and that happens all the time, becomes successful, you find many women now begin to notice him or recognize him, because really when someone is not that well off, many women won't even give him a second look.
Right.
But once you're doing well and you're driving the car and you're putting on the clothes and everything's working for you, that's when women tend to notice the man.
Right.
And so he feels like, well, yeah, I'm cool, I'm this, and he feels he's the, you
And
know.
you see, I said that, and Richard did
Lydia
not
has
agree
done
with
a
me.
great job with me.
You know, he didn't agree with me.
It's
That
so
is where now the no comes in, right? That is now where the men's inability to say no, because there is always attention. Yeah, that is where that inability comes in. Paul, you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to say this. She said something. When men begin to grow economically, their status and all that, they begin to become people who are attractive out there. Now, this I also take back to the lady and I tell her, please, if your husband, because when you began, you had a level of agreement, the foundation was so sure you could build this thing together. Don't let the man grow and you enjoy bliss at home, saying after all he's doing everything, there is money, there is a car, because a man will buy you a car, spending for a man, it's not a big deal. But now, do you have those things that your husband likes? Have you learned those things? Do you have a measure of the knowledge of his career? Can you accompany him one-off and compliment positively towards what he does?
What
This
if
will
he
take me
shuts
back
you
to
out? What if he shuts you
to a
out?
very interesting discussion about social life. But I'm just thinking, sometimes you don't have really similar interests. Sometimes you're a doctor. She's a businesswoman.
Yes.
Is she supposed to come into the theater?
Not really, but at least have a slight medical information. I mean, today we have
Is
information.
it the information of the work that is going to help, or is it the communication between the two of you?
Now,
I think it's the communication. I think
Right.
it's the communication. Because many a time we have couples who are married from the same, they do the same jobs, the
Right.
same career.
Yeah.
But we have majority of the couples who are married. They don't do the same jobs. But I also agree with what Rev is saying. At some point, you have to grow together. You don't let one partner grow and you sit in a comfort zone. You put yourself in a comfort zone. Now, as he is growing, he is going to meet people of his same level, stage after stage, level after level. Then now you start having a split,
Yeah.
okay? Then now all of a sudden you have nothing to talk about.
yeah, because
Like, for example, I call myself a housewife because I'm not employed, but my husband is an engineer, okay? But we always have something to talk about. And he will tell me stuff about engineering, about his job, and I will tell him my experiences about home, about my businesses, about what I'm doing. So bottom line, as much as he is growing, because I think it's also both sides. Even the women grow, and
Yeah,
sometimes
I was
the
about to ask
men,
that.
also sit. And this is a worrying trend today,
Yeah.
where we have a lot of men who don't want to get tired, who want to be taken care of, who want to hook up with women who are doing very well. And the girl child, I think was mentioned, who has been so empowered now, is a go-getter.
Yeah.
I mean, she will get what she wants. And some men are just, the men have something called ego, and sometimes they feel kind of a bit little when they're with a woman who's successful, and instead of matching with her pace, he decides to sit back.
And talking about this element of growth, the disparity that is caused by that growth, it begins to make people communicate more with people of their level, right?
Yes.
And that's where it begins to build. Because then I'm more interested in talking to this other person. I find them more interesting.
Very, very innocently.
Yeah.
Very,
So
very
I could actually
innocently.
be home and I'm finding like, we have more to talk about over here, business opportunities, creativity and all that kind of energy that you got to do. But what are the things that ladies are supposed to watch out for? Because it's not just the men that fall into this trap. For the men, it's easier to say, once it begins to rise, that attention, they don't know how to deal with the attention. Sometimes success, sometimes it's just careless, sometimes it's just people feeling like they deserve it. They've worked so hard, a sense of entitlement that makes them feel like, well, I've worked so hard, I've labored 20 years, 15 years, I've denied myself so much. But what are those things that ladies need to watch out for that would make a woman go out?
Out of experience, I've observed this because I have very many male friends. I grew up more comfortable with the male child than with girls. And not to defend them, but mostly affairs at the workplace happen to men without their knowledge. Because this is married men. This is married men. I'm not really defending them, but I've observed that there's a disparity between him and his wife, because the wife maybe is a doctor, he's a lawyer, and there's this female workmate who gets his world. And what the woman needs to understand
Paul is looking at me.
He's saying amen, yeah? what women need to understand, and even men, yeah, is that the heart of a man is his vocation, his work. That is his identity. And the heart of a woman is her relationships. Mm-hmm. So when your husband is an engineer, for example, and you're a doctor, and you're like, it's fine, so you just talk about general things, then the gap widens. Mm-hmm. But if you are a wise woman who wants to build your home, then you will, Google is your friend. Can you listen to this man, enter his world, be his boy, yes, be his best friend, in the sense of let him be very comfortable coming to talk to you about this project. You know, there's this project, and I was meeting this client. If you enter his world, then you have his heart. That's right. But if you don't have his heart and you just leave him to that praying woman in the office who speaks his language, then you're done for.
And I think also what's important is to marry a friend. Yeah, I love your point. You need to be friends. You don't enter a relationship as strangers. You need to be best friends with your spouse. That also helps avoid infidelity.
I gotta bring this. Do men have these splits when it comes to relationship? Because you're talking about friendship. Is it possible for a man to think like, okay, I married my wife. Yeah. She's my good friend. I'm loyal to her. We're going all the way through. No divorce. But then on the other hand, there is somebody that they're looking at as meeting a very different need from this particular one. Is that a possibility, Richard?
I think, like they say, you can't have a man who has no clothes to sell you clothes. It's not that I've been in that place particularly, but I think we all have an opportunity down the line in our experience as husband and wife, where those low moments, there's opportunities that throw you out of balance. But I like to say, from where I said, that there's certain absolutes that will always guide you in life. In my text, I'm a Christian, and proudly so. I think one of the things that has always guided me is that the reverential fear of God is what keeps me away from evil. I see the promise the other side of that temptation, but I take cognizance of what God would have me do with that same experience. So it will be acting out of character if I do not take first priority. Where do I derive my values and what I do?
Richard, you know, there's people watching who don't have the same belief as you. You've got the Bible guiding you, and you've got this fear of God. And then there's a man over there who has absolutely, you know, with him and God, you know, he goes in once in a while, probably around Christmas or New Year or something like that. What support system does he have? Because I have seen people who work together, Paul. I've seen people who work together who know each other and they're friends or something. But then there is just something that will make them want to move out. What is that thing that will make them want to go out?
Okay. You cannot just lay your hands on it and say, this is it.
Yeah.
Because it comes from, we have three things here. We have a cultural background. That's where we come from. We also have our education set up, where now you have to know your person, and you have also the social media and the environment around you.
Talk about social media and its effect and its impact and its possibilities when it comes to issues like infidelity. Talk about social media.
Now, when you allow these things and they begin to shape the person here, because I'm this kind of guy, I believe if my mind is fed on something continuously, I begin to think like that. I begin to have my own images of that. Are we together? So you end up finding your heart or your mind is being attracted towards people who look like subconsciously.
All right.
So you need to ask yourself, as you bring God in and as you bring your partner in and yourself, where am I going with this? Because by the end of the day, you need to, also in marriage, for you to solve it, you need to have this quality time. It's important because I've gone to couples and I've found them disagree because they're in a relationship, but in the house, everybody is on the phone. Right. The other one is on the laptop. Yeah. And the communication in the house, even children are talking to their parents on this.
Because you could be in the same space.
Yes.
But be emotionally absent.
That's it. So you need to have quality time. Put these things off, get off once a month, or according to your program, get some time off where you can deal with yourselves, so that even God will come in and bless what you do.
But Chris,
I think something
let's be honest. These social media platforms are not supposed to be distraction. They're supposed to enhance relationship.
With your spouse?
With your spouse. And anyone else outside your spouse.
I think it's a distraction.
Because you're not relating outside the construct of other people involved in your life.
Because, all right, yeah, I hear you, but I'm just thinking, if there was no social media, would that affect you and your spouse? You're already friends, you know, you've got direct contact, right?
No.
Most of the time, the people we relate with on social media, outsiders. Yeah, so that I don't know how it would enhance. Maybe you would enlighten me on that.
Partly, we do mentorship programs for people who are dating, courting, relating, and married every first Saturday of every month.
All right.
There are too many platforms. I have one that I belong to for a church I've been a part of for 8 years. And we've been mentoring each other as couples. Then we have another one that we also a part of where we're mentoring people directly. It's absurd though, men don't come for those meetings. You asked, how do you help men? Men don't come for those meetings. We just have to Pastor, you help us.
You know, men must, for men to come into something, there must be something in there for them.
Yes.
That's the thinking of a man. If you've got to get the man's attention, men are dealers.
Yes.
Men are dealers. He's looking at, his time is his investment. That if he comes in there, there must be something that will bring something in the immediate. So when they think it's something that is postponed, they'll always push it like that. That's the reasoning of most men. But I need to ask this just because we're about to wind up because our time is going up. But I need to ask the ladies, what happens when there has been infidelity? How do we move on? Because I asked the men earlier on, how do we move on? How do you deal with a spouse who has fallen? And if there was a kid involved?
Okay, there isn't really a one answer fits all, but out of experience, because I'm divorced as well, and I have 2 children, so children are involved. In a case where a woman invaded your marriage, then you need to fight for it. If you know that God wants you in that marriage and you have this deep conviction within you, then you need to walk in grace and forgive, and it's a two-way thing. And you need to deal with someone who you're both accountable to. And that is one scenario. The other scenario, if you're not meant to be, and this kind of thing comes in, then it will definitely break up, and because God is not in it. So purpose is everything.
I also think it's a choice, because once infidelity invades a marriage, the two have to decide, do we want to be in this marriage or don't we want? Because I cannot be the one who wants to remain in the marriage and the gentleman doesn't want to remain in the marriage. It's not going to work. So it has to take 2 to tango. We both have to come into agreement. Another thing I'd wanted to say is it's very important as well to have a vision for the family, because without a vision, you'll perish. And I know we use that for corporate, we use that for our businesses, but we don't use that as for our personal lives or even for our marriages. It's so important to have a vision as a family, as a couple, and with the children, involve them in what kind of family do you want? What's gonna direct you? What do we hope to achieve as a family? So that's very important. I find very many people don't have that as a family.
All right, I'm going to take wrapping thoughts. I can see but I want to take wrapping thoughts beginning with Richard, then we just go on and wind up. Your wrapping thoughts.
My wrapping thought would be, let the men come. Let's talk. Let's break the silence. Right. The thoughts that we do not express and just obsess privately. Let's improve our ability to effectively communicate, and let's work these relationships.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think I would say let's be friends. I think that is probably not BFFs, but at least we must be friends. And then let the men open up as well. Men die silently. They don't talk. They don't talk. So if they can also come up. And then the women also, let's not be too hard on them. we should learn to listen to one another. Let's talk. Let's talk. I think communication is actually the bottom line.
All right.
Mine, 2 points. One, communicate without judging this person harshly. Nobody is perfect. Complement each other. It's very healthy, even when your spouse or your partner does something wrong, you work on restoring rather than destroying.
Okay.
Secondly, spend quality time together.
All right.
This is a fact, and you need to have time. At least pray together, talk together, play together once in a while.
All right, Rita.
When it comes to infidelity, when children are involved, I would say it's imperative. Never, ever, ever, ever make children choose sides because they only have one mother, one father. Never involve your children because the children are not divorcing the mother and the children are not divorcing the father. So they should always be left neutral.
All right.
Thank you.
Done.
Yeah, mine is it is easier to obtain a relationship than to maintain one.
Right.
And whatever relationship that you don't work on will deteriorate over time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, there you had it. We still want to hear from you. So keep the conversation going on all the platforms on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The hashtag is KTN Life and Style. You could also write us on 22840 text message. And if you want to be part of the panel, you want to be on the show, write us on Life and Style at standardmedia.co.ke. The and is a symbol, Life and Style at standardmedia.co.ke. Don't go anywhere. We're taking a break and then coming back with Stalma wife, Stalma Habi, with Crystal Okusa.
Wow, perfect.
Yeah?
Quite unique.
You okay?
I'm perfect. I'm good.
I am happy.
Yeah.
Yeah? You look very bright. You look nice. Because this is South African way to wear.
Okay.
You know?
Sure. Upgraded.